So there's this man in the Bible who appears for almost no time at all. No long backstory, no dramatic calling, no family history, no speeches, no recorded prayers, no explanation from where he came from. Just one verse. Judges 3:31 says, "And after Ehud came Shamgar, son of Anath, who struck down 600 Philistines with an ox goad. He too saved Israel." And that's it. One verse. A man named Shamgar kills 600 Philistines with an ox goad, a farm tool. He delivers Israel, and the Bible just moves on. But the more you look into this verse, the stranger it gets. Because Shamgar wasn't living in just any random period of time. He was living in one of the most unstable, violent, and confusing moments in all of ancient history. Centuries before this, the ancient East had been dominated by like massive kingdoms and armies. So you have Egypt, you have the Hittites, you have the Canaanite city-states that were along the coast. You have trade routes that are connecting all of the eastern Mesopotamia and all of the islands that are in the water to the west. You have fortified cities, bronze weapons. This was a structured world. This was a world with rules and parameters. And then at the end of what historians call the end of the late Bronze Age, it all starts to fall apart in the most chaotic course of events. Kingdoms collapsed. Trade routes were no longer able to be maintained. Armies moved with no real plan, just conquering. And that old way of living, that old world that everyone knew for so long, changed completely. This is the world and the context of Shamgar's life. This is where Shamgar was put in and where God anointed him and brought him in to deliver the Israelites. This was the environment at which he was in. It was not a friendly, peaceful time. It was very tense. There was, at any point in time, something could pop off. At any point in time, you would need to defend yourself. There was people all around. There was people to the south, to the north, to the east, and to the west. All kinds of people were moving and migrating, and there wasn't any real structure. So it was a very chaotic time where you really need to be on your toes. You couldn't be caught lacking, as they would say. The Bible actually gives us a little bit of a glimpse of this as well. In Judges 5, it tells us that in the days of Shamgar, the roads were unsafe. And when I first read that text, I didn't really understand fully what it meant. But yeah, during this time, the regular trade routes, guys, the roads where people would go to regularly take goods and things that they could use to trade and in commerce were not available. There was bandits. There was ways that you could get robbed, that you could get hurt. There was nomadic groups of people that were all around that didn't have any allegiance or alliance to anyone but themselves. So it was very dangerous. People would have to take hidden paths, hidden ways to take goods and hidden ways to travel. They would have to make sure that they didn't travel alone, that you traveled and you were ready to defend yourself at any time. It was very dangerous. There was no structure. Everything was collapsing. All the major powers were collapsing, and everything was very disjointed during this specific time. You get in the midst of all of that, in the coastal states, you now get the emergence of the Philistines in these Canaanite city-states. So you get the major city of Gath, which is where the Philistines were in these fortified cities, and they caused a lot of problems for the Israelites because they were in such close proximity of each other. I mean, you think the Israelites are over here to the east, and then just not far to the west is all of these fortified Philistine states, and you get these clashes of Philistines and Israelites constantly fighting. The Philistines are said to have come from a migration of people called the Sea People that came from the far west, from the water into these coastal plains of Canaan, and kind of settled there and took place there. So picture the full setting. You have old empires collapsing. You have new warrior groups emerging. You have Israel trying to survive on the land. Villages scattered here and there all in the countryside, in a world that is just completely turned upside down. Then the Bible gives us Shamgar. And not with a sword, not with a spear, not with any kind of fancy weapon, but with a farmer's tool, an ox goad. Like, if you aren't familiar with an ox goad, it's a steering tool. It's used to prod oxen and cattle and kind of get them to go in various directions. There's different variations of them, but they can have, sharp wooden edges. They can also have sharp kind of metal edges that are used to not fully harm, but to get the attention of the cattle to kind of get moving in a direction. It's not a weapon anyone would use to defend themselves in a life and death situation. It's not anything that a soldier would use. An ox goad is a tool of a working person, a farmer. working man. And the imagery to me that the Bible gives us is so beautiful and so profound, because you think Shamgar is living in this chaotic, brutal time where the world is just turned upside down in this impossible situation, surrounded by 600 Philistines. He has no army, no sword and shield, no spear. He has an ox goad, a farm tool, a regular tool, everyday working tool, and God uses that to deliver Israel. Mind blowing to me. It's amazing. The thing about Shamgar is it gets even more interesting than that, because the Bible also calls him Shamgar, son of Anath. And that phrase is just strange, because Anath or Anat is a Canaanite warrior goddess. From what I've been able to research and from what scholars have said, there's a few possibilities to why Shamgar was labeled son of Anath. It's been said that maybe it was a family name passed down. Maybe the name son of Anath was because he was trained in combat or had extensive military experience. Maybe he even had Canaanite roots. It hints that Shamgar had a foreign background. The truth is, we really don't know. But that mystery matters because Shamgar does not look like the obvious hero that you'd expect. The name Shamgar is not a typical Hebrew name. He appears out of nowhere. He kills 600 Philistines. He delivers the people of Israel. He says nothing, and then he just disappears. But the Bible still says he too saved Israel. Very, very, very clearly, it wants you to know, hey, this guy Shamgar played a part in delivering the people of Israel. And that's the part that we can't miss. In the book of Judges, it's full of this pattern. God keeps raising up these completely unlikely deliverers and people that other people may have looked past or not even thought about. He brings up in the most unexpected time to do the most unexpected things and deliver the people of Israel. If you think about Ehud was left-handed, which was seen as a negative thing, and he used that to deliver the people of Israel. Gideon was afraid. Samson was deeply flawed. And Shamgar, he's so obscure that most people grow up in church and don't even know who he is. But maybe that's the exact point. Because sometimes God uses people that don't exactly fit the category. Sometimes he uses people with complicated backgrounds, with not the best resume. People nobody saw coming. People who are just standing in a field, ready with whatever's in their hand. This is not just a story about one man killing 600 Philistines. This is a story about God raising up a deliverer. Maybe that's why the Bible doesn't really give us a lot of detail on him, because the focus was never really on Shamgar's greatness. It was on God's ability to use whoever he chooses. You might be living in a chaotic time. You might be surrounded with impossibilities, impossible odds, things that you just look at and say, I can't get over this. But be encouraged with this Bible story, because God can use what you already have, what's already in your hand. In one of the most chaotic times in all of ancient history, where roads and trade were collapsing, empires were overtaken, God still knew how to save his people. And he did it through a man that no one saw coming. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.